Picture yourself in 1979. You're 25, fresh out of college. Student debt, $3,000. 3,000. On a $21,000 starting salary, that's about 7 weeks of work. You rent a decent apartment for $400 a month. Not a palace, just a place. In 4 years of saving, you could buy that house outright. No mortgage needed. The house costs $65,000. Your 4 years of salary? $84,000. Your dad worked one job as a machinist. Supported a family of 4. Mortgage, car, groceries, 3 kids through college. 1 paycheck. You're thinking, I'll do even better. Now it's 2025. You're watching your nephew graduate, also 25 years old. Their student debt? $40,000. 13 times what you had. Starting salary? 50 grand. But that apartment you rented for $400? $2,100 now. That $90,000 house? $420,000. The down payment alone is 84 grand. Your nephew makes $50,000 a year. After taxes, after rent, they might save $5,000 or $6,000 annually. If they're lucky, if nothing breaks. To save $84,000? 15 years minimum, which it will. Oh, and your dad's machinist job? Shipped to Mexico in 1998. The factory's a Spirit Halloween store now. Something broke in America. Not slowly, not naturally, violently. Between 1948 and 1979, when your productivity went up, your pay went up. Lockstep. You worked harder, you earned more. The contract was simple. Then, 1979 happened. The contract shattered. Since then, productivity grew 70%. Wages? 12. That gap between 70 and 12, that's 58% of everything you created. Gone. Not lost. Transferred. Stolen. $79 trillion. Trillion with a T. That's not a budget number. That's not a policy debate. That's your money, moved from your pocket into someone else's portfolio. Every year for 45 years. The American dream isn't sick. It's dead. We have the autopsy report, the murder weapon, the names of everyone in the room when it died. Welcome to the richest country in human history, where your kids will be poorer than you. First time that's happened, ever. How did the country that invented upward mobility become worse at it than Denmark? Why do you work more hours than your parents but own less? Who broke the deal? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to walk through 7 crime scenes. 7 ways they killed the dream. Wages, housing, education, healthcare, retirement, geography, and the final nail. By the end, you'll know exactly who to blame and what it would take to fix this, if we've got the guts. Let's start with the first theft, your paycheck. Meet Frank. 1979. Frank works at a GM plant in Flint, Michigan. Makes $25 an hour, inflation adjusted. Union job, full pension, health care that works. Frank produces 100 units per hour. Gets paid $25 for it. Fair deal. Frank goes home at 5. Owns a house, 2 cars, 3 kids, all headed to college. No loans. 1 paycheck. Now meet Marcus. 2025. Marcus works in Amazon warehouse, where Frank's factory used to stand. $27 an hour. No union, no pension. Health insurance costs him $400 a month and covers nothing until he hits 6 grand out of pocket. But Marcus is productive. Way more productive than Frank. Technology, automation, tracking systems. Marcus produces 250 units per hour, 2.5 times Frank's output. Works harder, faster, under constant surveillance. His reward? $27, 8% more than Frank, for 150% more productivity. If Marcus's pay matched his productivity, he'd make around $60 an hour. He makes $27, missing $33 every hour. Work a standard 2,000-hour year. That's $66,000 stolen annually. Do that for 40 years? $2.6 million. Gone. Here's what happened. 1948 to 1979. Productivity and pay moved together. Productivity up 97%, wages up 91%. You produced more, you earned more. Then, 1979. The contract broke. Since then, productivity climbed 70%. Wages, 12%. That gap is $79 trillion transferred from workers to shareholders over 45 years. The minimum wage tells the same story. 1968, it was $160 an hour. Adjusted for inflation, that's $15 today. Current minimum, $7.25. Frozen since July 2009. 16 years without a raise. If minimum wage had tracked productivity like it used to, it'd be $24 an hour. At $7.25, full-time gets you $15,000 a year. Below poverty. At 24, it's $48,000. Middle class. We chose poverty. Now look at the top. 1965, CEOs made 21 times their average worker. Today, 281 times. CEO pay up 1,094% since 1978. Worker pay up 26%. Average S&P 500 CEO makes $23 million a year. Starbucks CEO in 2024 pulled $96 million, while the median employee made $14,000. Ratio of 6,000 to 1. If CEO pay stayed at 21 to 1, that money could give every American worker a $15,000 raise. Instead, buybacks and dividends. The weapon that enabled this? Union destruction. 1983, 20% of workers had unions. Today, 9.9%, lowest ever. Private sector dropped from 16% to 6%, cut in half. Union workers earn 10 to 20% more than non-union doing the same job. But unions raised wages for everyone. They set industry floors. UC Berkeley research shows union decline caused 20% of male wage inequality. If union density stayed at 1979 levels, non-union men would earn $2,700 more annually. August 5, 1981, Patco strike. Air traffic controllers want better conditions. Reagan fires all 11,345 of them, every one. Bans them from federal employment for life. That was the signal. Before Patco, permanent striker replacement happened once in 70 strikes. After, 1 in 7. Major strikes collapsed from 289 a year in the 70s to 16 in the 2010s. Reagan didn't just break one union. He broke the idea that workers had power. Right-to-work laws spread to 27 states. Workers get union benefits without paying dues. Sounds fair until you realize it bankrupts unions. Employers fire organizers. Penalties are a joke. Just back pay. No jail. No real consequences. Union busting became an industry. Consulting firms make millions teaching companies how to threaten and intimidate workers. Legal. So here we are. Productivity up 70%, pay up 12. Minimum wage lost half its value. CEOs make 281 times what you make, instead of 21. Unions systematically destroyed. That's $79 trillion moved from your pocket to their portfolio. But surely you can just buy a house like your parents did, right? Build equity, security, wealth. About that, 1980. The median house in America cost $65,000. Median household income was $21,000. Ratio? 3.1 to 1. Save for 2, maybe 3 years. You've got your down payment. You're a homeowner before you're 30. 2025. Median house? $417,000. Median income? $81,000. Ratio? 5.1 to 1. That's 65% less affordable than it was for your parents. The down payment alone is $83,000. To save that while paying rent? A decade. Maybe 15 years if anything goes wrong, which it will. But it gets worse. Way worse. Because America doesn't have one housing market. It has two. San Francisco. Median home price. $1.5 million. You need a household income of $300,000 just to qualify for a mortgage. If you make the median income of $130,000, that house costs 11.3 times your annual pay. 11 times. Los Angeles requires 104% of median income just for housing. Mathematically impossible on one salary. New York, Boston, Seattle, San Diego. All the cities with actual jobs, actual opportunity, price-to-income ratios of 8 to 10. Unaffordable unless you inherited money or married it. Meanwhile, Detroit. Median home, $70,000. Cleveland, similar. Gary, Youngstown, even cheaper. You could actually afford to buy, except there are no jobs. The factories closed decades ago. Schools are failing. Infrastructure is crumbling. Population is declining. You can buy a house, sure, but there's nothing to do there except watch it depreciate. So here's your choice. Live where the jobs are and rent forever, or buy where it's affordable and have no career. There is no third option. The middle class has nowhere to go. Let's talk about age. 1981. Median age of a first-time homebuyer, 29. 2025, 40. 40 years old. That's 11 years of your life stolen. 11 years you can't build equity. Can't start a family in a stable home. Can't plant roots. First-time buyers now make up just 21% of all purchases. Historic low. In the 1980s, it was 40%. We've priced an entire generation out of home ownership. And 17% of people aged 25 to 35 live with their parents. Highest rate since 1940. Since the Great Depression. You can't afford to leave. Marriage age has shifted from 22 to 30. First child from age 21 to 27. You're putting your entire life on hold because you can't afford the foundation. Housing. Now let's talk about who you're competing against, not other families. Wall Street. Second quarter of 2025. Institutional investors bought 33% of all single-family homes. 1 in 3. Highest share in 5 years. In Atlanta, corporations own 25% of single-family rentals. Jacksonville, 21%. Phoenix, Charlotte, similar numbers. BlackRock, Invitation Homes, American Homes for Rent. They're not buying houses to live in. They're buying assets to extract rent from you forever. Here's how they win. You need a mortgage. Contingent on inspection, appraisal, financing. They pay cash. No contingencies. They offer 20% over asking. You lose. Every time. Then they rent it back to you for 30% more than your mortgage would have been. And that rent is so high, you can't save for the next down payment. The loop is closed. You're a renter for life. Neo-feudalism. They own the land. You pay forever. But surely the market will build more houses, right? Supply and demand. Except it won't. Because we made it illegal. 75% of residential land in American cities is zoned single-family only. Can't build apartments. Can't build condos. Can't build townhomes. Only detached single-family houses on big lots. This isn't economics. It's policy. We chose scarcity. Who controls these zoning boards? Current homeowners, mostly boomers. They bought their houses when prices were sane. Now they want prices to go up forever. More supply means lower prices. Lower prices means their asset loses value. So they vote no on everything. Every apartment building, every development, every upzone. Not in my backyard. NIMBYs. The U.S. is short 4.5 million homes. We need to build, but we can't. Because the people who already won the game changed the rules to make sure nobody else can play. Japan builds wherever there's demand. Simple zoning, fast approvals. Tokyo, a city of 37 million people, has more affordable housing than San Francisco. Why? They build. We don't. So here's where we are. Houses cost 5 times your income instead of 3. You're competing against corporations with unlimited cash. The first-time buyer age is 40 instead of 29. Zoning laws make it illegal to build enough housing. And 17% of young adults live with their parents. Your parents bought a house on 1 income in 3 years. You'll rent for 15 years before you can afford a down payment. If you're lucky. If nothing goes wrong. If Wall Street doesn't outbid you. If the zoning board doesn't block the only affordable development in your city. The housing market isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. To extract wealth from the young and give it to the old. From renters to landlords. From workers to investors. But at least you invested in your education, right? Got that degree. Climbed the ladder. Secured your future. Let's talk about what that cost you. 1980. Public university tuition, $3,000 a year. Inflation adjusted. Work a summer job, maybe part-time during school. You're covered. Graduate with maybe 5 to 10 grand in debt. Pay it off in 2 years. 2025. Public university tuition, $10,153. Just tuition. Add room, board, books, fees, $24,000 a year. 4 years gets you $96,000 in costs. Even with some scholarships or part-time work, you're graduating with $40,000 in debt, the average. Some have $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. And that's public school. Private universities, $60,000 a year, $240 grand for 4 years. College costs increased 1,200% since 1980. General inflation, 236%. Tuition grew 5 times faster than everything else, while wages grew at 0.3 times inflation. Here's the debt pile. $1.81 trillion. Total student loan debt in America. 43.5 million people carrying it. That's bigger than the entire credit card debt in this country. The average graduate owes $37,850, up from $9,000 in 1993, 4 times higher in 30 years. At 6% interest, that's $420 a month. for 20 years. You'll pay back $100,000 total on a $38,000 loan for a degree that gets you a starting salary of $50,000, maybe. Let's talk about that salary. 1984. College grad starting salary, $68,000, adjusted for inflation. 2024. $61,000, $7,000 less than 40 years ago. So you're paying 4 times more for school to earn $7,000 less when you graduate. The return on investment collapsed. But surely the government invests in education, right? Helps keep costs down. Used to. 1987. Students paid 23% of their higher education costs. The state covered most of it. 2012. Students paid 45%. The burden shifted from taxpayers to teenagers. Between 2008 and 2018, 46 states cut per student higher education funding. 36 states cut by more than 20%. This wasn't an accident. It was a choice. Cut taxes for the wealthy. Cut education funding. Send the bill to students. Let's compare. Germany. University tuition, $157 a year. Norway, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, free. 0. France, $200 a year. United States, $10,662 for public in-state. We are the outlier, the only rich country that bankrupts its students. Now let's talk about the predators. For-profit colleges, University of Phoenix, Kaplan, ITT Tech, Corinthian Colleges, DeVry. They represent 5% of total enrollment, but they take in 15% of all federal student loan money. Their 12-year default rate, 52%. More than half of their students default within 12 years. Projections say 70% of some cohorts will eventually default. Where does the loan money go? Less than 25% goes to actual education. The rest? Marketing, executive salaries, profit. They target veterans, low-income students, minorities. Convince them to take out massive loans. Give them a worthless degree or no degree at all. Leave them with debt and no job prospects. It's a scam. A legal scam. Underwritten by federal student loans. So here's the situation. You need a degree to compete. That degree costs $40,000 at minimum. Probably more. You'll pay it back for 20 years. Your starting salary is $7,000 less than your parents' generation. The state used to help pay for college. Now they don't. Other countries offer free university. We offer debt. And if you're unlucky enough to go to a for-profit school, you're paying $50,000 for a degree that employers laugh at. Meanwhile, that $420 monthly payment, that's money you can't use for a down payment on a house. Can't invest. Can't start a business. Can't save for retirement. Can't have kids. The debt follows you. Can't discharge it in bankruptcy. Can't escape it. You took out the loan at 18. You'll be paying it off at 38, maybe longer. 43.5 million Americans are in this trap right now. $1.81 trillion in total debt, growing every year. This is what we decided education should cost, not an investment in our future. A profit center, a debt machine, a way to extract wealth from the young before they even start working. And even after you pay for that education, even after you get the job, even after you do everything right, you're still one illness away from losing everything. Because we need to talk about healthcare. 2007. Harvard University did a study on bankruptcy in America, found that 62.1% of all personal bankruptcies were medical, more than half. Every 90 seconds, an American family declared bankruptcy because of healthcare costs. Here's the part that should terrify you. 3/4 of those people had health insurance. Having insurance didn't save them. Average out-of-pocket costs for insured medical bankruptcy, $17,943. One illness, one accident. Financial ruin. This doesn't happen anywhere else. Not Canada. Not the UK. Not Germany, France, Japan, Australia. Only here. Let's talk about insurance. 1988. Average family health insurance premium, $2,530 a year. 2025, $26,993. That's a brand new Toyota Corolla every year, just for the privilege of having insurance. Insurance premiums increased 740%. Wages increased 26%. You're spending exponentially more for insurance that covers exponentially less. Because we need to talk about deductibles. 2006, average deductible, $584. 2024, $1,787. Tripled. 32% of workers have deductibles over $2,000. Some face $5, $6, $7,000 deductibles. You're paying 27 grand a year in premiums. Then, the first 6 grand of care comes out of your pocket, before insurance pays anything. Add it up. Premium plus deductible equals 11.5% of median household income. Gone. Before you see a doctor. Before you get a prescription. Before anything is actually treated. The result? $194 billion in medical debt currently in collections. 36% of American households carry medical debt. More than 1 in 3. 17% of adults with healthcare debt have declared bankruptcy or lost their homes. Not might. Have. People skip doctor visits because they can't afford the copay. Don't fill prescriptions. Delay treatment until it becomes an emergency. Then the emergency room bill is $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, which creates more debt, which leads to more delayed care. The spiral tightens. 250,000 medical fundraisers on GoFundMe every year. $650 million raised. We've turned healthcare into a crowdfunding campaign, begging strangers on the internet to not let you die from bankruptcy in the richest country in human history. Now let's look at what we get for all this money. The United States spends $14,885 per person on healthcare. Per person. Per year. Comparable countries average $7,300. We spend double. Our life expectancy? 76.4 years. OECD average? 80.7. We spend twice as much to die 4 years earlier. Infant mortality? 5.8 deaths per 1,000 live births in the U.S. Norway? 1.6. We lose infants at 3.5 times their rate. Maternal mortality? 23.8 deaths per 100,000 births. Most other rich countries? 7 to 12. American mothers die at 2 to 3 times the rate of other developed nations, despite spending double on healthcare. Every other developed country has universal healthcare. Every single one. Canada, single payer. UK, NHS, free at point of service. Germany, multi-payer universal. France, hybrid. Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Australia. Even Costa Rica has universal healthcare. Only America bankrupts its citizens for getting sick. Only America ties healthcare to employment. Only America has 27 million uninsured and millions more underinsured. Only America calls an ambulance a financial decision. You can do everything right. Work hard. Get insurance through your employer. Pay your premiums. Follow the rules. Then you get cancer. Or your kid breaks an arm. Or you need emergency surgery. $17,000 out of pocket. Maybe more. Maybe way more. Financial ruin. This is the system. Not broken. Working exactly as designed. Insurance companies profit. Hospital systems profit. Pharmaceutical companies profit. You go bankrupt. But at least you can retire someday, right? After 40 years of work, you'll have saved enough. Social Security will be there. You'll be fine about that. The three-legged stool. That's what they called retirement security. Social Security, employer pension, personal savings. 3 legs. Stable. Now, 1 leg. Broken. And it's about to snap. 1980. 38% of private sector workers had a pension. A real pension. Defined benefit. Work 30 years, retire with guaranteed income for life. You can't outlive it. You can't lose it in a market crash. It's there until you die. 2024. 15% have access to a pension. 4% have only a pension. The defined benefit pension is extinct. What replaced it? The 401k, created in 1978 as a tax loophole for executives. Never designed to be the primary retirement vehicle for an entire nation. But here we are. All the risk shifted from employer to you. You fund it while wages stagnate. You manage it despite having no training. You gamble it in the stock market. And if you guess wrong or retire in a crash, you're broke. Let's look at the balances. Americans aged 65 and older. Median 401k balance, $88,488. The 4% withdrawal rule says you can safely take out 4% per year. 4% of $88,000 is $3,540. That's $295 a month. You cannot survive on $295 a month. Broader picture. Americans 55 and older. 50% have zero retirement savings. Zero. 29% have neither savings nor a pension. Nothing. For those who do have savings, median is $104,000. That generates $310 a month. To retire comfortably, you need about $1 million. Using the 4% rule, That's $40,000 a year. Median American at 65 has $88,000. They are 91% short. Most Americans will rely entirely on Social Security. It was designed to supplement retirement income, not replace it. Average Social Security benefit right now, $1,976 a month. In many cities, that won't cover rent. And Social Security is going bankrupt. The Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund. Current projection? Fully depleted by 2033, 8 years from now. When it hits zero, automatic cuts kick in. 19 to 23% reduction in benefits. No vote, no debate. Automatic. If you're getting $2,000 a month now, it becomes $1,540. If you're getting $1,500, it becomes $1,155. 58% of current retirees say Social Security is a major source of income. 40% say it's their only source. When that 20% cut hits, millions go into poverty overnight, and Social Security has already lost 20% of its purchasing power since 2010. Cost of living adjustments don't keep up with real inflation. Healthcare costs rise faster than COLA. Your benefit shrinks in real terms every year, even before the 2033 cuts. Now the hidden nightmare. Long-term care. Nursing home. Semi-private room costs $111,325 per year. That's the median retirement savings gone in 10 months. Medicare doesn't cover long-term care. Common misconception. It doesn't. Medicaid only covers you after you've spent down to poverty. 70% of people over 65 will need some form of long-term care before they die. Average lifetime cost? $172,000. Only 3 to 4% of Americans over 50 have long-term care insurance. Most can't afford the premiums, but the need is nearly universal. So you spend decades saving, finally retire. Then 3 years in a nursing home wipes out everything you built. You die broke. Your kids inherit nothing. Let's review. Pensions are gone. 401k balances are catastrophically low. Social Security goes bankrupt in 8 years with automatic 20% cuts. Long-term care costs $111,000 a year, and Medicare doesn't cover it. 50% of near retirees have zero savings. The retirement system doesn't exist anymore. What exists is a plan to work until you physically can't. Then rely on Social Security that's going bankrupt. Then spend down whatever you manage to save on a nursing home. Then die poor. That's not retirement. That's managed decline. And the geography of this nightmare? It's not evenly distributed. Because we need to talk about the two Americas. New York. GDP per capita, $117,332. Mississippi, $53,061. That's a 2.2 times gap between states in the same country, under the same federal government. Two completely different economies. Massachusetts, 50.6% of adults have college degrees. West Virginia, 19.9%. 2.5 times difference in educational attainment. Knowledge economy versus left behind. This is America. Fractured. Coastal prosperity. Interior collapse. 1980. 19.5 million manufacturing jobs. 2010. 11.5 million. 8 million jobs gone. Not spread evenly. Concentrated in 140 counties out of 3,000. Surgical devastation of specific regions. Detroit. 1950. 1.8 million people. Fourth largest city in America. Today, 631,000. Lost 65% of its population. 2013, $20 billion in bankruptcy. Largest municipal bankruptcy in American history. Youngstown, Ohio. September 19, 1977. Black Monday. Youngstown Sheet and Tube announced closure. 5,000 jobs, gone instantly. Within 5 years, 50,000 manufacturing jobs disappeared. The city lost 65% of its population since 1960. It never recovered. Gary, Indiana, 1970. U.S. Steel employed 30,000 workers. 2023, 2,246. 92% of the jobs eliminated. Flint, where Frank used to work. GM employed 80,000, now employs 5,000. The water is still poisoned. These aren't statistics. These are entire communities destroyed. People who did everything right, worked hard, played by the rules. The factory closed. The jobs left. They never came back. And the workers who got displaced lost 51% of their pre-displacement wages, compared to 35% for workers displaced elsewhere. Rust Belt workers never recovered financially. Middle class to working poor in one plant closure. Meanwhile, rural America. 2010 to 2020. First decade of population decline in American history. Lost 289,000 people. Rural areas are dying. 182 rural hospitals closed since 2010. 46% of remaining rural hospitals operate at a loss. 60-plus miles to the nearest emergency room in some counties. No grocery stores. Food deserts. No doctors. Healthcare deserts. No jobs. Economic deserts. Young people leave. They don't come back. 40% of non-metro counties peaked in population in 1950 or earlier. 75 years of continuous decline, and people are dying. Deaths of despair. Suicide, drug overdose, alcoholic liver disease. Between 2000 and 2017, 450,000 excess deaths, above what should have been expected. These deaths cluster geographically. 8 of the top 10 states, Rust Belt or Appalachia, West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania. Economic collapse leads to community collapse, leads to death. The United States is the only developed country where working age mortality is increasing. Every other rich nation, it's declining. We're going backwards. Suicide rates up 33% in the hardest hit regions. Opioid death rates in West Virginia, 40 per 100,000. National average, 10. This is economic violence with a body count. Plant closes, wages collapse, people can't afford health care, pain goes untreated, opioids fill the gap, addiction follows, overdose kills, or hopelessness leads straight to suicide. So here's your choice if you're trying to live the American dream. Live in San Francisco, New York, Boston, Seattle, where the jobs are, where innovation happens. But pay $2,100 a month for a studio apartment. Never afford a house. Rent forever. Or live in Detroit, Youngstown, Gary, rural West Virginia, where housing is affordable. But there are no jobs. Infrastructure is crumbling. Hospitals are closing. Your neighbors are dying from despair. Opportunity cities are unaffordable. Affordable cities are dying. There is no middle ground. There is no place where you can both find work and buy a house and raise a family. The American dream used to be everywhere. Small towns, big cities, didn't matter. Work hard, buy a house, raise kids, retire. Now, the dream exists nowhere, if it exists at all. And that brings us to the final verdict, the international comparison. The proof that the American dream didn't die of natural causes. It was murdered. And we know exactly who did it. Section 7. The end of upward mobility. World Economic Forum. Global Social Mobility Index. United States ranks 27th. 27th. Below Denmark. Below Finland, Norway, Sweden. Below Canada, Germany, France. Below the UK. Below virtually every European nation. Intergenerational income elasticity. How much does your parents' income predict yours? United States. 47 to 52%. Your parents' income explains about half of what you'll earn. Denmark. 7 to 15%. Barely matters. If you're born poor in America, you're 3 times more likely to stay poor than in Denmark. It takes 5 generations for a poor American family to reach median income. In Denmark, 2 generations. The American dream is statistically more achievable in Denmark than in America. Let's name the weapons. The policies that killed the dream. Reagan tax cuts, 1981 and 1986. Top rate from 70% to 28%. Result? $79 trillion transferred from bottom 90% to top 1%. Patco strike breaking, August 1981. 11,345 workers fired. Result? Union membership cut in half. Glass-Steagall repeal, 1999. Remove Depression-era banking regulations. Result? Too big to fail banks, 2008 crisis. Citizens United, 2010. Corporations can spend unlimited money on politics. Result? Outside political spending increased 14 times. Trade deals, NAFTA, 1994. China WTO entry, 2001. Result? 5 million manufacturing jobs exported. These aren't accidents. These aren't market forces. These are policy decisions, with names attached, with votes recorded, with consequences measured. So what would it take to fix this? Raise the minimum wage to $24. Match it to productivity like it used to be. Build 4.5 million homes. Upzone single-family neighborhoods. Ban corporate home buying. Let people build. Make public college free, like Germany, Norway, Finland. Fund it through taxes, not student debt. Universal health care. Single payer. Medicare for all. Like every other developed country. Strengthen unions. card check recognition, end right to work laws, protect organizing, tax wealth, not just work, capital gains equal to income tax rates, wealth tax on 50 million plus, break up monopolies, enforce antitrust, stop mega mergers, guarantee retirement, expand Social Security, public pension option. These aren't radical. These are normal in other countries. Germany rebuilt from rubble. We built the middle class with the New Deal. Denmark, Finland, Norway did this. We can too. But it requires political will, organizing, voting, fighting. Here's the reality. The American dream is dead. Empirically, measurably, statistically dead. Your kids will be poorer than you. First generation in modern American history to go backwards. Downward mobility is the new normal. We know what killed it. We know who benefited. We know what it would take to rebuild it. The only question left is whether we're willing to fight. Vote for people who will raise wages. Join unions or support them. Demand universal health care. Fight the NIMBYs at your city council. Organize tenant unions. Run for office. Strike if necessary. The dream is dead. We have the autopsy. We have the murder weapons. We have the names. Now we decide. Do we accept permanent decline? Or do we rebuild the contract between work and prosperity? Other countries prove it's possible. But it won't happen by asking nicely. It requires power. Collective power. The kind they spent 45 years destroying. The American dream is dead. Long live the dream, if we fight for it.